Yo, what's up, guys? So, I've already recorded the match and rendered it and edited it. So, this is just going to be a little bit of a PSA. Um, if you're part of this 49.7% that aren't subscribed but watching my content, what are you doing? Enjoy the match. Yo, what's going on, people? Izzy Max here, back again. After a week break I took due to vacation and everything, we're finally getting back into the VGC League. We did have the bye in week one of the playoffs, so here we are in the semifinals. We did get the second seed, and the sixth seed ended up winning his match. You can see the mons on the layout, but I'm going to go through what I'm bringing. So first off, when we first played this guy, he was my week one opponent. And I had trouble with Thunderwave from his Meowstic. So I'm bringing Lightning Rod, Choice Specs, Manectric with Flamethrower, Thunderwave, Thunderbolt, and Snarl. Next up is Persian. This is going to be Assault Vest, Technician, Max Special Attack Persian. Most of his mons are special attackers. So I figured I didn't really need to be Fur Coat. And all of my moves are going to be Technician boosted. So we have Icy Wind, Snarl, Beat Up, and Fake Out. Beat Up is, of course, for the Gallade, and Fake Out is there just because. Next up, we have, I believe this is Leftovers, Ferrothorn, Max HP, Max Special Defense, Protect, Sub, Toxic Leech Seed. This is basically here just in case he ended up bringing Rotom Wash, which he doesn't. He ended up bringing Rotom Heat. Next up, this is Weakness Policy, Dragapult with Dragon Claw, Phantom Force, Fly, and Steel Wing. +2 Steel Wing KOs most versions of Togekiss, so I figured this would be really nice. Next up is Gallade. This is Lumberry Gallade to help with the Thunder Wave, with Close Combat, Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Leaf Blade. And lastly, this is the honestly the MVP of this game, but Ice Shard, Helping Hand, Icy Wind, Fake Out, with the Eviolite for the Galarian Mr. Mime, and this also helps us proc our Weakness Policy on the Dragapult. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the game. This is honestly a really good game. As you see his team here, and then seeing what he brought, I realized Manectric is super good. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward. I end up leading Manectric Persian with Dragapult and Mr. Mime in the back. This lead really just kind of countered everything he could lead himself. I was expecting a Togekiss Meowstic lead, which we ended up calling right. So that was huge, honestly, because what this means is I have Speed Control and Icy Wind, and Specs Thunderbolt does a lot to a Togekiss. And he can't Thunder Wave anything. Due to Prankster, he can't Thunder Wave the Persian, and Lightning Rod with the Manectric. So here I am deciding just to Fake Out and I think it's Thunderbolt and Icy Wind. This really just covers all my options. He doesn't have a ground type. I was surprised he didn't bring Haxorus. Haxorus actually was a big problem in my prepping, which is why two of my mons has ice coverage, because it will hit it pretty hard. But here we do see the Protect from the Togekiss, which is fine. Probably expecting Fake Out and blank move. But we do just get an Icy Wind off. He does set up a Safeguard, which I was kind of confused about, but then it made more sense since I do have the Sun plus Vileplume. Safeguard actually helps him with the Speed Control, with the Sun, and then it also kind of just does help him against the Thunder Wave or the random paras I could get with Thunderbolt. So here up next, I thought about Snarling, which I don't think I do. I might, but I was expecting this to be Crit Kiss, so the Snarl's not going to really matter. The special attack drop doesn't matter at all against a Crit Kiss, because if it gets a crit, it just bypasses all the stat changes. So, Speed Control is honestly the first thing I need. As he withdraws his Meowstic here, and goes into Rillaboom. So this Icy Wind is actually going to be doing a decent chunk. We are, like I said, max special attack with the Technician boost. So here he does set the grassy terrain. We cannot use Series 5 moves, so no Isle of Armor moves until the season is over, so I'm not worried about Grassy Glide or anything. Turns out it is Choice Scarf Rillaboom. But here he does end up maxing the Togekiss, which I figured was going to be his Maxmon anyway. So here, I'm guessing he might go for the Max Flying. So I do just get off the Icy Wind, negating any speed buffs he's trying to get if he was. And then this Specs Thunderbolt here does a big chunk. And he just maxed Starfalls. So with this, he set up the Psychic, or the Misty terrain, I'm sorry. So now nobody can get paralyzed, slap, anything. So granted, that was probably needed to KO the Persian, but now he has his Meowstic is kind of useless. I don't really need Persian anymore. I mean, I need Manectric, but I end up here switching it out. Manetric's only real job, other than doing huge damage to the Togekiss, was negating the Thunder Waves. So I decide to switch in my Mr. Mime, which is max HP, max special defense. And then I just decide to go for the Steel Spike. I haven't showed if I'm special or physical Dragapult, so either Mon is honestly in danger. I could have Thunderbolt and Flamethrower. I could have blank. Like, Dragapult is super versatile. So I switch in Mr. Mime, Dynamax my Dragapult, and this is where things really start kind of getting out of hand. I went too far. So here, there's the Dynamax Dragapult, and I believe he protects. Yeah. So he protects the Togekiss here as Steel Spike goes in. I wanted to call the Protect, but it wasn't worth it. And then he just high horsepowers my Mr. Mime, which does nothing. And like we said, I found out this was Scarf later on. So here I do decide just to fake out the Rillaboom. I'm not going to activate my weakness policy yet. Mostly because I don't really need to. So let's save that. Kind of put it in the back of my mind. So he doesn't know I'm weakness policy yet. And here, he's actually going to double switch, which I think was the smartest play he could have done. He is locked into high horsepower with his Rillaboom, so it's not really doing too much damage. And then I do have an Ice type sitting right in his face. So he does just go back out into the Meowstic. And of course, I faked out at that slot, so it's not going to do anything. And then he switches out his Togekiss into Rotom. Now this is kind of big, so I wasted all of his Dynamax turns. All he was able to do was KO my Persian. Fake Out just does some chip, not a big deal. And then Steel Spike comes out. It's not doing much, but it is giving me the defense boost, and he does have the Rillaboom in the back. I was expecting like knockoff from the Rillaboom, so this is going to help me. And then I thought to myself, well, if he has knockoff, let's go ahead and get rid of my item while it's not here. And on this turn, he honestly forgot or just didn't have another move to click. But he actually clicks Thunder Wave. And I realized the terrain was up. If the terrain wasn't up, I was going into Manectric 100% of the time. But terrain's not up, so I'm just going to go ahead and activate my weakness policy. There's the Thunder Wave. Activate my weakness policy. I'm at +2 now. Whatever I do other than Steel Wing is going to KO the Rotom. And then I max Phantasm, Rotom goes down. So now I'm in a great spot. He has no more Dynamax. His Togekiss is super weak. I know his Rillaboom is scarfed, and later on we find out that the Meowstic has no attacking moves other than Fake Out. So all in all I have to really worry about is Rillaboom and Togekiss, which are both weak. So he does come back in, sets up the grassy terrain. Now that he doesn't have the misty terrain up, I have to go back out into Manectric. And knowing that he is Scarfed, he's not going to be clicking high horsepower. He is going to lock himself into knockoff. And you'll see that Dragapult actually takes it really, really well, which is surprising. This is the turn we find out that he is Scarf, because he does end up being faster than my Dragapult. But the switch here into Manectric also saved me the game, I do believe. Because with my Dragapult being my main source of offense at the moment, surprising he didn't go for Fake Out. I don't know if he could have there, but we actually end up living this without an item, and it was a crit. So I was super surprised, and this is when, again, we found out he was Scarfed. If that would have killed my Dragapult, this would have been kind of interesting. But based on the damage that his Togekiss has, I don't know if it matters. It would have mattered if he would have knocked me out. Because there I'm just going to lock myself in a Specs Flamethrower. He doesn't know I have it yet. I almost didn't want to reveal it. But here, he really has nothing to click with his Meowstic. And I don't know if it was by accident or he just kind of gave up. But he actually ends up clicking Thunder Wave, which in turn gives me a Lightning Rod boost. I don't know if maybe he knew he lost this game and he wanted to see if I was actually Lightning Rod instead of Plus or Static, I think. But yeah, he does that, and then he ends up knocking off my Manectric. So he gave me the boost, but then took away my Choice Spec. So basically, I'm still Choice Spec'd. Max Phantasm. Phantom Force here knocks out the Meowstic, which is, again, not really a big deal. And then Flamethrower here at +1 is going to be able to knock out the Rillaboom. And then lastly, his last Mon is, of course, the Togekiss. I'm just going to click Steel Wing and Thunderbolt. There's nothing he can do. Both hits are going to KO. So that is game 1. In game 2, I kind of wanted to bring Ferrothorn. Him seeing my 4 Mons and me not bringing Ferrothorn was kind of the plan. Because then I'm thinking, okay, I could bring Ferrothorn. But seeing how good we did in game 1, I just wanted to bring the same stuff. So I ended up just completely running it back with the Persian Manectric, Dragapult, and Mr. Mime. Same lead and everything. And now he ends up leading Rillaboom and Togekiss. To be totally honest with you, I don't remember what I actually do here. Oh yeah, I think I just go for the Icy Wind. No, I Fake Out. Oh, because I know it's Scarfed. I Fake Out and Thunderbolt. I wanted to Flamethrower the Rillaboom, thinking that the Togekiss was either going to protect or switch out. But then I'm Scarfed, or I'm Spec, so I would have to switch out in order to keep things moving in my favor. So I just go for the same play I did turn 1, just different targets. Fake Out the Rillaboom and Thunderbolt the Togekiss. I am taking a lot of time because I'm actually really thinking about this, because this Togekiss is a huge problem for my team. If it's able to outspeed my Dragapult or my Manectric, I kind of just lose. That's why I have Icy Wind, Specs Thunder Wave, and just a lot of stuff. 2 Fake Outs. And I think I wanted to put Wide Guard on the Gallade, but I didn't. And so here, I am switching in Mr. Mime, thinking, okay, you're not going to leave your Togekiss in on a Thunderbolt. You're probably going to lock into high horsepower because you need that Manectric gone. And I need Manectric safe to help me with the Thunder Wave. So I just bring in Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime's not honestly that big of an asset for me. It's really there to activate the weakness policy, Fake Out, and just slow stuff down, as he is locking into high horsepower, which Mr. Mime eats really well, surprisingly. And then it was a crit on the Rillaboom. I don't know how much that crit actually matters, but we do get the speed drop now. So now Rillaboom is just regular speed, basically nullifying his Choice Scarf. And now here I'm in a spot. I have both special attack dropping and speed dropping for both sides of the field. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to attempt to drop the Duraludon special attack as far as possible, and then continue to speed control with the Mr. Mime. And this is where Mr. Mime is actually super, super, super clutch. He brings out the Meowstic, and this is why I actually wanted to bring Technician Persian in the first place, because that is huge damage. Granted, it was a crit. I think it still gets almost 2-shot. And this is why I said it doesn't matter, because then I hit it with an Icy Wind. So now the Duraludon, which is another offensive threat that we struggled with the first time we played him, is now at -2 speed and -1 special attack. It is honestly no longer a threat. And then the Meowstic eats his berry. Flash Cannon comes out, and this is crazy. We eat that. Granted, we are max special attack, max HP, Eviolite, but that's still a super effective hit on a Mon that hits very hard. We just have some residual recovery here from the grassy terrain, and I'm kind of content on just doing the same thing. This is going to knock out the Meowstic, potentially, and I just decide to go back into Manectric. Flash Cannon's going to be resisted. He can't Thunder Wave. It turns out his final move that we never see is going to be Fake Tears, which I don't know why he doesn't click it. But he just goes for a Fake Out, hits the Persian, not a big deal. And then Flash Cannon comes out, -1 special attack, honestly only does about 25%. So now I am in a solid position. Turns out the only move he could actually click is going to be that Fake Tears, because the other moves he has is Fake Out, Safeguard, and Thunder Wave. So I really don't know what he does here. I'm just going to continue to click Snarl. It still does a big chunk to the Duraludon. And if he wants to switch anything in on that Meowstic slot, I almost double Snarled. But then I thought to myself, based on what he has and how much HP he has left on like the Rillaboom, I'm expecting this to just kill. Lock into Thunderbolt, kill everything. This is the first time we've actually used Manectric. I've brought it 1 week before, but it's putting in a lot of work. And of course he does switch out into the Rillaboom, which was the smart play, reset his Fake Outs. We still haven't Dynamaxed. And then we get a big hit off, dropping the Duraludon even farther. Now it's -2. It might have to be -3. But, and then we just Thunderbolt, killing the Rillaboom. So one big threat down. It was Choice Scarf, so I don't know how big of a threat it was because it had to lock. And he's just going for as much damage as possible. And it actually knocks us down to 21, which I still need to keep this Manectric safe, because he does still have Togekiss in the back. Which right here honestly surprised me that he goes into Togekiss. If I was him, I would be going back into the Meowstic. But I don't think he could have killed anything. And I think Persian actually ends up killing the Duraludon. So this play honestly doesn't actually end up mattering. He's at full health. I think he ends up Dynamaxing the Togekiss. I almost Dynamax Manectric for the memes. I know Specs Manectric is doing more damage than Dynamax Manectric, but it doesn't matter. Honestly, at this point, I don't think there's a way I could have lost. After the game, I was texting with my opponent, and he was 100% expecting Sun, which I expected him to think that because it was really strong against his team. But I thought this was better, which turns out it was. He really didn't have an answer to Persian Manectric combo, which I've never thought of actually, and I wish I did because it would have probably helped me in a couple matches. But he ends up protecting as I just Icy Wind again. Like I said, if he gets any speed control with the Togekiss, it's going to end up actually mattering a lot. And then Duraludon just goes for a Draco. Like, not a huge deal. I think Mr. Mime actually ends up living it by a lot. I think the Duraludon is now at like -5. It might honestly be -6. But I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. I just double Icy Wind. It's going to do a big chunk to Togekiss anyway. And if he wants to save the Duraludon and switch into Meowstic, Meowstic probably dies. Which I think is what he ends up doing to reset the Duraludon. Yeah. So he switches out here. At this point, I'm just kind of chilling. Which is funny because my main threatening mons I didn't end up bringing. So here the Icy Wind comes out. Actually ends up missing the Meowstic, which is kind of huge. Because this might have killed. I'm not 100% sure. No, it would have. It would have been fine. But now the Togekiss is at -2 speed. Honestly, don't know why he didn't max. I guess he needed the the Dazzling Gleam. But Mr. Mime is at 1. I know he's going to fake out the Mr. Mime and kill it. So I'm just going to Snarl because I think it kills the Meowstic and does a huge chunk to Togekiss. And if the Togekiss doesn't get a crit, who cares? I wanted to sack off the Manectric, but then I thought to myself, if I miss this Snarl, it's kind of huge. Because like I said, I could still lose to this Togekiss if I made wrong plays, which I believe that was going to be a wrong play. He does just end up protecting. We still haven't used our Dynamax. There's Johnny. Hey, Johnny. Anyway, he does fake out, which is what I expected. We Snarl. Luckily, we hit the Meowstic. And it barely lives, just on the slightest amount. And here, I'm just going to go back into Manectric. This is actually when I thought about Dynamaxing it, because I knew there was honestly no way he could come back. Because I still have a full health Dragapult in the back. I believe I go for Snarl here. I was just checking the power and accuracy. Whichever one was more accurate, I was going to click, but they're the same move. So I do just go for Snarl because it is stab. And the Togekiss is already at like -2, so it's not really going to matter. And then, I don't know why I'm thinking about it, just Thunderbolt the Togekiss. I do believe he can't protect. Because he protected the turn prior. So here, out comes Duraludon. It dies here. And then he really can't click anything. Everything I have is going to be faster than the Togekiss, no matter what, and Persian just gets the double KO. And then all he has left is the Togekiss, and he ends up maxing it, and then just a Thunderbolt ends up killing it. So nothing really to watch here. But that's going to do it for the semifinals. So we actually move on to the finals. It is going to be us, the 2 seed, versus Damien, the 1 seed. He is actually who we took our second loss to. He was the guy with the Braviary, Clefairy, Excadrill, Hippowdon. Super scary team. Super hard for my team to actually counter. His team just has so many good matchups against mine. I really have to think outside the box when I'm prepping. But anyway, that's going to do it. We should be back sometime next week. He is in Australia, so our time zones are 14 hours apart, and this weekend is the 4th of July for us in the States. So it's going to be really hard to find a time. It might actually end up being the weekend after. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I'll see you guys in the finals. Peace.